White skin on linen, perfume on my wrist, and the full moon that hangs over, dreams in the mist.
Back here with Craig Bartock, lead guitarist from Heart. And a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, Magic 97.9 FM, right here in Las Vegas. Those watching us on YouTube, make sure you go to the Sports Circus and subscribe on YouTube, as well as those on Hotel TV. Folks, we're everywhere. And Craig was telling us about having 10,000 songs carried around in between segments. What do you think about that now? You have 10,000 songs in your pocket. You don't enjoy any of them, right?
Well, see, that's the funny thing. I think it's human nature. The more choices we have, the less we appreciate it. You know, it's like you can look at your TV now, and it's like I've got over 1,000 channels, and probably how many do you watch? Like 8, 5, 10 at the most. And it's the same with like Netflix. I mean, I've got this. Everybody has this thing, you go to Netflix or Amazon Prime and you're overwhelmed by the choices. And it's just like, for me, oftentimes I'll see all this stuff and I'll either just shut the app off or I'll end up just watching something that I've seen before. It's like the equivalent of like comfort food. I'll watch something that I've seen before because it's like, this looks interesting. And by the time you've spent 15 minutes like perusing through things you might like or documentaries or something like that, I have a hard choice. And so, when there was a certain charm to having, three major TV networks and having them compete for your viewership, as opposed to having a million that are all splintered up into these little sort of sections and little topics. And yeah, it just gets to be a little too much.
Yeah. It's kind of like going to, certain restaurants. And I know there are certain ones that I like to go to. I like the old school family restaurants, and normally there are 1,000 things on the menu, but I always gravitate back to like the hot turkey sandwich with mashed potatoes or something. It's the same idea. There's so many things on the menu, but I always go back. And the same thing with music. I mean, I'll go back to Barracudas, for example. That's always in my playlist, for example, and some other songs. But normally I have maybe 15 songs in my MP3 player, and that is it. Even though there's 10,000 or 20,000 in there, I always go back to the same ones, just like on television. And that's just the way that I think human nature does it, because we get so overwhelmed with there's so much selection. We want it because greed says we have to have more music, but we don't really want it. We want to hear what we want to hear. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the true, the information age. We could spend 2 hours just talking about how it's affected us and how it's divided us and polarized our country. But more than that, it's just like, it's a double-edged sword, because nowadays you can see any video, you can see any live concert you want to on YouTube. You can instantly be there, and it's almost has a reverse effect, because it's like, oh, I wanted to see that band and I wonder how they did this. But the double-edged sword is like, when I'm on stage and we're playing, say, Barracuda, for example, I'm looking down in the audience and I'm seeing no less than 50 people holding up their cell phones and knowing that this is going to be on YouTube like tomorrow or that night. And it's like, so there's the same performance of Barracuda 50 times over, and from different angles of various degrees of audio quality. And I don't know necessarily whether oversaturation is a good thing.
Yeah, we hit a wall at some point. Say, okay, we've seen this thing. Oh yeah, well the audio quality is not so good here, but this one's better, but the angle is a little bit off. I could see how that could be, but let's go back to if you're sitting in a stadium. Let's say, all right, so you're up in the Bay Area, for example. Maybe you're watching, I don't know, a Giants game or a 49ers game, and it's a TV timeout or something, and here comes one of the Heart songs. Do you look around to see if anyone's looking at you? Do you look to see if they're dancing? Do you look to see if they're getting their groove on or something? How do you feel about that?
No, if that happens, I tend to sort of shrink more in my seat. Honestly, it's like, I want people to enjoy Heart music or my music or the music that we've done together. And, but like we were saying earlier, like buying into the showbiz thing and everything, I would just honestly, for pretty much every situation, I would prefer to be anonymous, and I really, really enjoy it that way.
A lot of people in your position have said the very same thing. They don't want to necessarily be noticed in the crowd. They just want to enjoy the event. So somebody in the chat from AAMPtv has asked, is HEART an acronym?
I don't necessarily know the origins of I know that when Ann and Nancy were kids, they had a folk group together and they called themselves the Viewpoints. I think they were trying to be very, very esoteric and very verbose. And then when Ann went up to Seattle to become a lead singer in the band, and Nancy was too young, she had to stay in school. I believe they were called, somebody would know this, I think they were called Wild Heart or something like that. And they were touring Canada, playing all the clubs. And then when Nancy got to be old enough, she came up and joined the band as the rhythm guitar player. And I think that's when they dropped the name, when they got their first deal in Canada, they dropped it to Heart. And I think that, knowing Ann and Nancy and how warm they are, it really does fit with them. But you have to remember that the original situation, they were just two members of a band. Ann was the lead singer, Nancy was one of the guitar player with 3 and 4 other musicians who happened to be males. So Heart sort of eventually did morph into becoming Ann and Nancy. But I know how Ann and Nancy feel. They love, like Ann in particular, she loves being in a band. She loves the fact of, she loves like looking around and seeing people that she's been with for years and the camaraderie. And because, once you have that, you don't want to think, well, I'm the lead singer, I'm the star, I'm the diva, I've got the biggest dressing room. You want to think, these are my buddies, these are my pals. We all have each other's back when we're on stage together, when we're off stage. We're friends. We talk to each other. Oftentimes we're in close contact with each other. And that, I think that shows in the music live, and it definitely shows with our enjoyment of it. We're to the point where we can read each other's minds on stage, and we know when somebody's going to make a mistake, and we're there to cover it, to cover it up for each other. And with, that being said, I just want to point out that everything that Heart has ever done live is always live. We don't pitch correct. We don't have Pro Tools or anything pre-recorded running in the background. Everything we do is live. So if there's a train wreck on the stage, so be it. And we love that, because that proves that we're human, and it proves that this train wreck is cool, because this audience is going to experience this, and them alone, because it's only going to happen once like this, hopefully.
It's funny you say that. I'll close the segment out with this. We have one more segment behind this one. I went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 1992, and I remember when Nirvana was up on stage, and at the end of the song, I forget, I think it was Heart-Shaped Box or something like that. Anyway, the song that was played right afterwards, one of their guitarists threw the guitar way up in the air while the other one slammed a guitar down on the stage. Well, unfortunately, at that time, the guitar came down and smashed that dude right in the head. It hit him square in the forehead. And of course, you could hear MTV, everybody is saying, go to break, go to break. And the guy's laying on the stage with a bloody head. Folks, if you don't believe me, just go and YouTube it along with the Sports Circus. Make sure you subscribe. But check that out, and you'll see the guitar clanks him right in the head. And I was there for that. And again, that was live. So, Craig, I love the idea that when Hart is performing something, you're not going to fix it. You're just going to go ahead and march right through it. And I love that human side of it.
Oh yeah, we laugh, and afterwards we just get together in the dressing room. We just look at each other, and if somebody has a recording of it, we love to watch it over and over again. It's like, this was great.
Yeah, those are the great things that happen. As I see it, whether it's television or radio, whatever, look, everyone's so concerned about sounding perfect on their podcast or some garbage like that. I'll tell you what. We make mistakes. I've already made 3 or 4 mistakes in this show, and I can't help but laughing because you just have to laugh it off and get over it. But I think people love the idea, whether it's music or whether it's television or whatever it is. You know what I mean, Craig?
It's got to be real. That's the thing about any media or entertainment. It's got to be honest. That's the ultimate filter that comes down to. And music nowadays sometimes isn't as honest as it could be. Music has to be honest, because that's the only way it's going to touch other people.
Right. Folks, we're going to be back here with lead guitarist from Hart, Craig Bartock. He's done a lot of other stuff. We're going to get into that in the next segment. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus.